Akida was not a rich man. With his donkey yoked to a wagon laden with all manner of goods, pots and pans and brooms and mops, reels of cotton and lace. He was a peddler, going far and wide to the villages that were dotted around the vast area. But Akida was a widower with an only son called Benji, and Akida wanted a good future for his only son. But they lived far from the local village, and certainly there was no school there. So Akida went to the local synagogue and visited the great Rabbi Israel, asking his advice. What should he do to ensure that his son has an education to make a better future for himself? But Rabbi Israel gave the solution that he himself would take Benji in as one of his own, and he would be taught along with the rabbi's own children. So this is what happened, and of course Akida was very happy. Now it so happened that Benji was not very scholastic, but he had a mellifluous voice. When he intoned the chants or sang at the synagogue, everyone was enchanted by the sweetness of his singing. And Rabbi Israel would often say, it is the melodies, it is the music that carries the prayers to the highest levels of heaven. Now, as it happened, one day when Rabbi Israel was traveling, he took Benji with him, and they had to stay overnight at an inn. Now, in the inn, it was filled with patrons drinking at the bars and eating at the tables. But Benji found a little corner for himself where he sat humming his favorite tunes. But as he was humming, suddenly Benji found a hand gripping the clothing of his chest. And when he looked, it was a fierce-looking man with a patch over one eye and a big hooked nose, the other eye black and piercing. He looked like what he was, a robber, thief. And with a tight grip on Benji's clothing, he said, "Sing me a song, boy." Now, Benji was very afraid. He'd only sung at the synagogue. But Rabbi Israel gave him comfort and said, "Sing, sing, Benji, sing." And so Benji began to sing his favorite peasant ballad. Now, not only was the fierce man mesmerized, but suddenly all the inn became quiet as they listened to Benji's song. Now when the song was finished, the fierce-looking man congratulated Benji on his singing and took from his hand the ring he was wearing and gave it to Benji. Benji placed it on his finger, and he wore it from that time on. Now the years passed, and Benji grew to manhood. He married. He had several children, and he became a merchant, a successful merchant. Now one day, when Benji was traveling, he was beset by a group of robbers who took everything from him, including his clothing, and they decided that they were going to hang him from the nearest tree. So taking him, they put a noose around his neck, ready to hang him. But they asked Benji, "What is your last wish? We will endeavor to grant it to you." And Benji said, "I would like to sing." And so he did. He sang again his favorite ballad, thinking of his wife, his children, his father, Akida, and his second father, Rabbi Israel. But the robbers became still. The cook stopped cooking. The robbers stopped eating. They were enchanted, mesmerized by Benji's singing. And suddenly the robber chief came out of his tent, a patch over his one eye, hooked nose, fierce darkness in the other eye. He marched up to Benji and he said, "Are you that boy who sang for me those years ago?" And Benji said, "Yes, you gave me this ring, which I have been wearing ever since." The robber chief released Benji, returned to him all his worldly goods, and sent him on his way. When Benji came back and told his story to Rabbi Israel and those who were gathered there, Rabbi Israel said, how would you end this story? What is the mystery contained in it? How would you finish this sentence? What did Rabbi Israel say? A statement, a realization, a mystery, a truth. Would you finish this?